Concept 4, factoring with opposites. Alright, so sometimes we have a situation where we cannot just factor the common factor out of each of our groups, each of our binomials, and have it come out with the same binomial left over. Okay, sometimes they will be reversed, okay, and we'll have to factor out a -1, and that's going to have the effect of just changing the sign on those two terms. Okay, so let's look at an example of that. Alright, so we've got our binomial. We're going to group it just like normal. Okay, and what you will notice when you group it is that the higher degree term here, the 10x cubed, has a negative on it, but the higher degree term here in our second binomial, 8x, does not have a negative. Okay, because those are different, if I pull out two positive factors, they're still not going to be left over with the same value. One of them is going to be negative, one of them is going to be positive. Okay, and we have the same thing here with our second term. One's positive, one's negative. So we're going to have to pull out a negative factor from one of these. Okay, the first thing we want to do is just factor them like normal, and pull out your greatest common factor. So I've got 10x cubed and 15x squared. Okay, and right now I'm kind of ignoring the fact that I've got a negative. So my greatest common factor here is going to be x squared and 5. Okay, so I would be left over, if I pull out my 5x squared, I'd be left over with -2x plus 3. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. And 8x and -12. Don't worry about the negative right now. That's going to go into your binomial later on, and then we'll worry about factoring that out. So our common factor here is going to be 4. So we're going to pull out our 4. It's going to be times 2x minus, and then 3. Okay. So here we've got a situation where our numbers are correct, right? Our values, we've got a 2x and a 3 and a 2x and a 3, but one of them is positive, one of them is negative. Okay, and so what we have to do is we have to pull out a -1, and generally that happens from the second term, all right, second binomial. So I keep my initial binomial the same. I have 5x squared times -2x plus 3, and then that's plus 4, but now I'm going to factor out an extra -1. Okay, so if I divided this by -1 and divided this by -1, it just changes the sign on those. So it changes this to -2x and this -3 to a +3. Okay, and then this 4 times -1 becomes -4. And let's just go ahead and erase that and change that right now. So we have a -4 or -4. All right. So now we've got our common factor, right? Our common binomial factor. So we're going to take what we've got outside. We've got 5x squared minus 4. Okay, and we're multiplying that by -2x plus 3. Okay, and sometimes that can be written as 3 minus 2x, but I prefer to have my kind of standard form with my highest term, okay, anything with a variable first. All right. Okay, let's do another one. All right, so this one's a little bit different because things are a little mixed up, right? This is not standard form for a polynomial. So our first job has to be getting it into standard form. Okay, otherwise we're going to have our variables mixed up, and we're going to have to end up moving it later on. Okay, so start by getting it into standard form, which in this case we've got, this is our highest, second highest, and these two are the ones that are switched. So 6x cubed minus 8x squared minus 15x plus 20. Okay, and I'll go ahead and group them, and I'm actually going to include this negative sign inside my grouping and then put a positive between the two. Okay, that way I can factor them and then look at if I need to pull out a negative factor. Right? So 6x cubed minus 8x squared, our common factor is going to be x squared, and it's going to be 2. So we have 2x squared times 3x minus 4. And over here in this one, we have, looks like just 5 as my common factor. So 5, and then I have a negative 3x plus 4. All right? And once again, you can see I've got my binomials, but the signs are switched. So I've got to pull out a negative. I'm going to do it on this one again. So this will be a positive 3 and a minus 4 when I pull out that negative for my term. Okay? And this can be something you don't show the full steps on, but you do need to make sure that you change the sign on both terms. Okay? And you'll know if you get it wrong because this binomial will not look the same as this binomial. All right. So then factor out your common binomial. We've got our 2x squared from here minus 5. And we're multiplying that by 3x minus 4. That's it.